Welcome to Living Martial Arts with Master Ray Gale, aka the Dark Master. Living Martial Arts discuss and examines the everyday exercise, philosophy, and lifestyle of the martial arts enthusiast. The host talks about his own training, past and present, and he also interviews many martial artists to discover how they continue to live their own martial arts journey. Tune in for top tips on how to get the best out of your martial art. Or perhaps you're thinking of starting a martial art. This podcast offers you an easy way to dip your toe in. Sign up for the newsletter at livingmartialarts.com and get regular updates and training tips direct to your inbox. Follow the Dark Master on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Living Martial Arts.
Hi, and good day to the martial arts public out there and to the Living Martial Arts podcast fans. I'm back again, the Dark Master, back with another podcast. I have a very unusual guest today, very different from my usual martial arts people that I talk to, but I'm sure you're going to find it fascinating. We have Natalie Jurado, hopefully I said that right, on the on the podcast with me. How are you doing, Natalie? How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Thanks so much for having me on.
No worries. You're very very welcome, and I'm really looking forward to this this chat because, as I say, it's slightly different because this is more in the what the type of thing that we need to for our bodies to keep us healthy. And although I talk generally about martial arts, I think it's that holistic approach that we need to do. And unfortunately, the other side of doing physical exercise is sometimes we damage ourselves. And maybe there are some things out there that would help us perhaps not damage ourselves so much and maybe heal a little bit quicker as well. So yeah, without further ado, really, can you maybe I read a little bit about your background and what you do, but perhaps you can tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am utterly and completely obsessed with a tiny little mineral called magnesium. So I've been researching it and studying it for close to 10 years now. And most people ask me, like, why? What on earth? Why are you obsessed with magnesium of all things out there, right? And it's because it completely and utterly changed my life. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. I went from struggling with insomnia and anxiety and panic attacks, barely sleeping 2 hours a night, being in this fog of exhaustion all the time, to living a life that's vibrant, to sleeping 9 to 10 hours a night. I no longer have anxiety. I no longer have panic attacks, and I attribute it simply to magnesium. So my mission now is to really spread awareness about this mineral and help people understand how it can help them with not only their physical performance in terms of like athletics, but also in their everyday lives.
Oh, excellent, excellent. No, that's great. Well, we've got that in common because I've done a little bit of study. I'm sure I'm not as grounded in it as you are, but strange enough, I actually started taking magnesium because I had a little bit of a sleep issue a few years ago, and I started taking magnesium. I sleep a lot better now, so I can sort of resonate with that story, and also, I mean, there are a number of through my studies with magnesium, I mean, there are a number of different types of magnesium 3 and 8 and glycinate, that type of thing. What do you deal with all of those, and do they have a specific function, or do you deal with it as one title, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So yeah, you dealt with sleep issues and that's why you started taking magnesium. That's what I find most people know about magnesium. They know, okay, well, if I can't sleep, I'm probably a little bit low in magnesium and they start taking it. That's for most people, that's their first introduction to magnesium. But what most people don't realize is all of the other unbelievably incredible benefits that magnesium can also provide for you. So if you're dealing with symptoms like overwhelming stress and anxiety that just doesn't seem to go away no matter how all of no matter all of the lifestyle interventions that you might make, or again, struggling with sleep, or if you're dealing with muscle cramps, muscle twitching, fatigue, especially during the day, chronic headaches, high blood pressure and high cholesterol are also intricately linked to magnesium deficiency as well. So when you're dealing with those kind of symptoms, it very well could be a sign that you need more magnesium, right? And so what happens is people will typically go to their health food store, they go in there and they see like an aisle filled with magnesium supplements, and they see everything from glycinate to oxide to citrate to malate, and they're like, "What on earth do I buy?" It gets really overwhelming and really, really confusing for people. So there are over 14 different forms of magnesium, and choosing the right one for your unique needs can be kind of hard. So just to kind of give you a quick overview of just some highlights of some of the forms to avoid and some of the forms to take. To start off with, magnesium oxide. This is the most readily available form of magnesium. It's what most physicians will prescribe to their patients, and it's typically the cheapest form out there. Unfortunately, magnesium oxide is a terrible form of magnesium to take. It only absorbs at a rate of 4%, meaning the other 96% of the pill that you take is going to go right through your digestive system and you're not going to absorb it. So it's a huge waste of money. And for most people, this is the form that they're typically introduced to first. And they try it and they're like, well, that did nothing for me. Well, it's because it doesn't work well. So keep that in mind. If your listeners out there learn nothing today other than that, just avoid magnesium oxide. So better forms are going to be your magnesium glycinate, magnesium malate, threonate, taurate, citrate. Those forms are much better absorbed, will do much, much better at giving you the results that you're looking for.
Excellent. And what talk about magnesium, and obviously it's a very very essential to us as humans. I believe that people say, oh, if you have a balanced diet, you're going to get everything you need. But of course, there's not a great deal of magnesium left in our soils now. Am I correct?
Oh, yes. You hit the nail on the head with that. Absolutely. Our farming practices have changed dramatically over the last 50 to 100 years. Nowadays our farms are putting out produce all year round. They're not just farming within season for the crops. They're also trying to build bigger crops and bigger fruits and larger harvests. And when they're doing that, it really disrupts the minerals and nutrients that are in the soil because they're constantly farming it. So because those nutrients aren't in the soil, they're no longer in our produce either. So just for a frame of reference, in order to get the minimum 350 to 400 milligrams of magnesium that you need in a day, you would have to eat 10 full cups of raw spinach. And I don't know about you, I love me some salads, but I'm not eating 10 cups of spinach a day. That's excessive. So it really is very difficult to get enough magnesium through our diet alone.
Okay. And obviously, certain members of the population, I'm assuming athletes, people who are doing exerting themselves physically, need more. Would you say that, or is it is it a case of? I mean, I'm assuming like everything, you can have too much, but yeah, perhaps you can let us know about that.
Yeah, so the RDA for magnesium again is 350 to 400 milligrams a day. However, the RDA was created to keep healthy people healthy. So people who are exerting themselves excessively, people who are, your endurance athletes, people who are maybe ill and have chronic deficiencies. So there's a whole huge subset of the population that is going to need more magnesium than that bare minimum. So for athletes, particularly, they will torch through what I like to call magnesium burn. They will torch through their magnesium stores because magnesium is used in the cell for energy. So the more energy that you expend, the more magnesium you're going to burn through. And athletes are notorious for drinking electrolyte drinks. You go out there, go for a good run, you come back all sweaty, you grab your Gatorade or your Liquid IV, all these really popular electrolyte drinks, and then you drink it down. Well, those drinks are a great source of potassium and sodium, but they don't contain magnesium in them at all. So you want to make sure that you're getting plenty of magnesium to make up for the deficiency that you're causing by exercising so much and sweating so much.
Okay. And is there a good way to take magnesium? What I say is, if I'm taking let's say a supplement, a vitamin D supplement, then normally I would take that with some kind of fat or whatever, or a vitamin C, maybe with water, and because it's a water soluble. What about magnesium? Is there a good way to take it? Can we take it on its own with anything? What's the best way to really ensure that we get a good absorption?
So when it comes to magnesium, you want to take it with food. So I always recommend taking it with your meals, and you want to spread it out throughout the day. A common issue that people find is that they'll take a fully loaded, huge dose of magnesium all at one time. But our body can only absorb so much in one sitting. So what happens is you'll absorb the maximum that your body will allow you to absorb, and then the rest of it will go into your digestive tract. And for some people, they'll have them running to the bathroom, which is rather unpleasant, right? So what we like to do is we like to take those supplements and divide them up throughout the day. Take one with breakfast, one with lunch, take one with dinner, one before bed. Just make sure it's spread out so you're giving your body adequate time to absorb it, and you're not going to wind up with those stomach issues that some people find when they take an oral magnesium supplement. Another thing to keep in mind is that magnesium will compete with calcium and iron for absorption. So if you're taking magnesium and calcium at the same time, they're going to cancel each other out and you're not going to be able to absorb them. If you take magnesium and iron at the same time, the magnesium is going to bully the iron and not allow the iron to absorb as well. And then the last thing I want to bring up, which is something so important that you mentioned, was vitamin D. So oftentimes, of course, we take our vitamin D with our fats because it's fat soluble. But what most people don't realize is you cannot absorb vitamin D without magnesium. So what happens is when we take a vitamin D pill, we're taking vitamin D in its inactive form. In order to activate that vitamin D, you actually need magnesium for that process to occur. So oftentimes people will take vitamin D because they're vitamin D deficient. Their doctor does a blood test, their vitamin D is low. They take a bunch of vitamin D, they're taking like 10,000 IU a day, and their vitamin D levels don't budge. It stays low. It's because they're missing that other important factor, which is magnesium and also K2. K2 also helps with the absorption of vitamin D as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, talking about magnesium, and I also use some magnesium oil. So if I get some muscle ache or whatever, I tend to rub that in. What are your thoughts about that type of magnesium?
Oh, topical or transdermal magnesium is by far my favorite way to get magnesium into the body. It is so unbelievably powerful and it has little to no side effects. So, what happens with some people is they take the magnesium pill. And it can cause maybe some stomach upset, maybe some diarrhea if they're taking too much all at once. Or for some people, they don't really notice the benefits because they're dealing with leaky gut. Maybe they have Crohn's or IBS or an inability to absorb nutrients effectively. So for people like that, it's really effective to use a topical magnesium chloride oil or soak in magnesium chloride baths or even use a magnesium chloride cream. There are some really great studies out there. There was, I believe it was a 2010 study that came out showing that people who used 500 milligrams of magnesium chloride on their skin twice a day were able to raise their magnesium levels by close to 60% in about 12 weeks. To get that same result using a pill or a powder, you would have to take 9 to 24 months to get those results. So we're seeing it's fast, it's effective. You can use it on children, you can use it on the elderly. It's just a really beautiful way to increase your magnesium levels.
Yeah. And I'm assuming, I mean, like I said, I don't know, you're the expert on this. I'm assuming that when we're taking our magnesium that way, we're going to not have the issue of having it with food or calcium or whatever. So we can really, it's a great form to use because we don't have to worry about the food option.
100%. And it's funny because using magnesium chloride it's been used for thousands of years. It's an ancient remedy. Back in the day, as humans, we used to bathe in rivers and streams. We used to swim in oceans, like the beautiful background that you have going on today. The ocean is 35% magnesium chloride. Rivers and streams are filled with minerals. That's why when people drink mineral water, they're drinking water that has that magnesium, that sodium, the potassium, all that beautiful stuff in there. So we used to drink from rivers and streams times, as humans hundreds of years ago. We used to bathe and swim in the ocean, and so we were able to get our magnesium topically very easily. And of course, we're not doing that much anymore as a society. We typically bathe in showers and bathtubs, so we're not getting that exposure to magnesium like we used to.
No, no, definitely not. Coming back to again, sort of magnesium on an age perspective, does it does it the way that we absorb it, does that decrease as we age, or and in that because of that, do we need to take more, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a chicken or egg kind of situation. They don't know the actual reason why, but as we age, we do have higher magnesium demands. So we see overwhelmingly that there is a huge population of the elderly who struggle to get enough magnesium. There's statistically more people who are older deal with magnesium deficiency in a bigger and harder way. Now, we don't know if maybe they're not getting, magnesium supplements, they're not getting enough magnesium in their diet, or is it there's something else going on behind the scenes that's causing them not to absorb magnesium in an efficient way. So we actually see it on both sides of the spectrum. We see it in teenagers. They have a huge uptick in magnesium deficiency, and then we see it in the elderly. So, but chicken or egg, who knows what is actually causing that deficiency, but we do know we can address it, and it's a simple, easy thing to address, of course. Um,
Yeah, no, no worries. What about? I mean, obviously, I mentioned that there's not a great deal of magnesium in the soil. I suppose it depends on country to country. But let's say we wanted to, we were going down we had some good food, and we're going down the food route. What would be the great, forms of food that contain high levels of magnesium?
Yeah, so the foods that are high in magnesium are going to be your green leafy vegetables, your nuts, and your seeds. So pumpkin seeds, chia seed, almonds, those are great forms of magnesium as well as chocolate. Actually, dark chocolate has a substantial amount of magnesium in it. And it's funny because I find that when people are magnesium deficient, they crave chocolate all day long. They're like these chocoholics, and they can't stop these cravings, right? And then once they start taking magnesium, they stop craving chocolate. And so we actually see quite an impact on people's waistline when they start getting enough magnesium.
Okay, that's interesting. Back onto the magnesium, because also in dark chocolate, I believe, I mean, if I'm right, there's quite a bit of copper in there as well. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. And
Copper at all?
yeah, so magnesium actually helps copper become bioavailable, because when it comes to copper in our body, if we can have all the copper in the world, but if it's not bioavailable for our cells to use, then it's actually toxic. So magnesium actually plays an incredible role in making copper bioavailable to our cells.
Yeah, sure. No, that's great. I mean, I think for me, I mean, like I said, it's something that I've been taking for quite some time. Um, I mean, the one that I do take has I think about 7 different types of magnesium within it in that particular supplement. But I mean, is there anything that you recommend on how we start, or any other advice that you can give on for people that want to get their levels of magnesium up?
Absolutely. So, one important thing to note is athletes, when you're working out, when you're exercising, to help with that post workout recovery, to help with that soreness that happens after a workout, applying magnesium, particularly topically to the muscles that you worked out, can go a long way to really removing that excess lactic acid buildup that we get in our muscles and helping prevent the soreness. So, that's a quick tip. If you are working out really hard, you want to get back in the gym the very next day, apply some magnesium topically to help with that soreness so that you can recover faster. And then if you are looking to you just kind of dipping your toes in the water to see if magnesium might be a good option for you. It's as simple as going to your local, pharmacy or your local store and buying a bag of Epsom salt. So Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. And you can literally just grab some, throw it in a bathtub, soak in it for about 20 minutes, and you can start reaping the benefits of magnesium really, really quickly.
Excellent, excellent. So, you mentioned about you had this fascination with magnesium. Um, do you have any particular blogs or website that people can follow and get to, and maybe take some of the advice that you're giving? I mean, we put
Absolutely.
those in the show notes as well, so go for it.
Absolutely, yeah. So I can be found across all social media channels at Be Rooted In. So it's BeRootedIn. So at Be Rooted In, particularly on TikTok. I'm really active on TikTok. We have a really great following there, and I answer all questions that you've dropped me in the comments. I answer all messages as well. I also have some incredible free resources if you want to learn more about magnesium, including a magnesium types cheat sheet. I outline 11 different forms of magnesium, what they're good for, who should take them, who should avoid them. And that's a great printable to print out with you and take with you to the health food store when you're buying your supplements. I also have a free magnesium resource guide that really walks you through all the amazing benefits of magnesium as well. And they can be found on any of my social media channels.
Great. Well, we'll make sure that we put those in the show notes as well, so people can follow you and get hold of that and get hold of some great information. So, are you we've sort of mentioned about magnesium. Have you got anything else on your telescope? Any other sort of minerals that you're looking at? I think actually, I'm exploring that one as well, because I would imagine that something you start exploring one thing and it leads to another.
Oh yeah, you start going down the rabbit hole and it just keeps going. Yeah, absolutely. So another important thing to consider, particularly when you're supplementing with magnesium, is to get adequate potassium as well, because magnesium, in order to work in your body, will use potassium. And what I often find is people will start supplementing with magnesium and they'll start increasing their dose, and then they start to get some side effects. They might start feeling a little anxious, having a hard time sleeping. They might start getting headaches, that type of thing. And oftentimes, it's not the magnesium that's causing the problem. It's the fact that their potassium levels are also low. So when magnesium starts working in the body, it lowers those potassium levels. And if your potassium levels are already low, it's going to send you into, headaches and some other side effects. So make sure you're drinking plenty of coconut water, get your potatoes, your beans. Those are all foods that are also high in potassium that will help with the magnesium as well.
Excellent, excellent. No, thank you very much. I mean, it's great information, and I think particularly with the state of sort of nutrition and the um, processed foods that people tend to rely on. I mean, I do try and cook from fresh myself with everything that I do. I try not to have, or at least very little of ultra processed foods, because I would imagine that that type of thing either will deplete it or there's none in there anyway.
Yeah, 100%. What you're saying is so honest. I always tell people that you can't supplement your way out of a bad diet. So, you can't expect to eat beer and pizza and french fries and then expect to take a magnesium supplement and it'll solve all your problems. Diet always comes first. Furthermore, sugar is a huge depleter of magnesium. For every one molecule of sugar that we consume, it takes 54 molecules of magnesium to balance that out. So the more sugar you eat, the lower your magnesium levels are going to be as well.
Yeah, no worries. Well, you're looking great. So you're obviously a great advocate for what you're doing, which is nice. And I think that sometimes looking at someone says more than what what they're actually saying. So it's certainly working for you, which is great. So anything else? Well, in closing, I mean, anything else that you'd like to mention that's going to be important for our listeners?
No, just get, it's as easy to get started as soaking in Epsom salts. If you find that after soaking in Epsom salt, your symptoms start to go away, you're sleeping better, you're less sore, your anxiety starts to go down, then you know that it was just magnesium deficiency and it's something you can work towards getting more and more of every single day.
Well, thank you very much for giving us a bit of your knowledge on magnesium. I mean, it's fascinating to me, and I love it because it's something that I wish I'd known throughout my competitive career as a martial artist. I would have certainly healed a lot quicker, and certainly been able to get over those injuries and get back on the mats a bit quicker as well. So anybody's listening to this, take heed. If your body's depleted in magnesium, you eventually you're gonna struggle and you're gonna have some problems. So thank you very much. If you stay online afterwards, once we've done this, then perhaps we can get some information. But I just want to say thank you very much. Those listening to this or watching this, any comments, put them in the down below. I'll put some information in the show notes, but I just want to say thank you to Natalie for agreeing to do this and sharing her knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.